If you've been waiting for fall DIYs, these are all brand new fall DIYs for 2025. I'm Jamie, the Crafty DIY guy. And for this first brand new fall DIY, we are going to take some of these acorns. I grabbed these at Hobby Lobby. My Dollar Trees don't have a lot of stuff out yet for fall, so I'm kind of shopping where I can. I've also got these wooden leaves. I grabbed some of this macrame cord from Dollar Tree during one of my last hauls. I ended up actually not using this, and my thought was maybe I was going to tie one of these cowbells or something to it, but I ended up not using these either. So no stress if you don't have either one of these, but they certainly could be incorporated into this and be a really cute idea. You'll actually see that as we are going through the project, I did not use the acorns either, but I think I would have maybe if the wreath form was a lot bigger. So go ahead and take your leaves, and you can see that these are pretty thick, and they're pretty good size, especially against this smaller kind of grapevine wreath. So my thought is I was going to create this kind of fall leaf inspired little kind of door wreath. I love these smaller wreaths for like bathrooms or even on the back of bookshelves. You can certainly put them on your door if you wanted to. There's so many really cute ideas that you can do with these, and they're just kind of fun to have around, and they're usually pretty easy to size or find. So I've got my paint brushes and everything. I'm getting my foam brushes, and then this paint set. These are acrylic paints that I picked up at Hobby Lobby again, and I just love the colors, love the color options, perfect for fall. So for these, I am going to go ahead and prep these and get these all ready, and what that means is pulling those ridiculous tabs off the top. They're so hard to remove. I wish paint companies would put like pull tabs or something on them. But we're going to go ahead and just kind of make some little puddles of paint. And then you can go ahead and take one of your sponge brushes and you are just going to start to have fun. Now, I am speeding up the footage here because this is a little bit of a longer process, but you are literally going to just start dabbing colors onto your leaves, and then you're going to start to blend them as well. And you only really have to worry about doing one side of these because some of these are going to be glued down to your wreath. So paint them if you want to, go for it. But I'm not going to. So now, as you can see, when you start to add the different colors, and I kind of make it a rule that I have a sponge brush just for blending. I have one for individual colors, and then I have one for kind of just kind of excess at the end, or an extra like emergency one. And as you can see, as you're kind of blending the colors together, and even when you let some of your leaves kind of puddle into the paint there, like I did with that yellow one, that's funny, I put it right back down on top of the yellow blob of paint. But anyway, you are just going to keep blending these, and this technique is one of my favorite. I did this a couple years ago actually with some fall DIYs, but I just love the way it looks because it starts to look like fall leaves. And when you think about fall leaves, and you think about how the colors fall and just how the colors change on the leaves as they're falling, like sometimes you'll see really bright reds, you'll see oranges, you'll see yellows, you'll definitely see browns. And this is just a fun way to recreate these. And honestly, all you have to really do is, if you're not starting to like the color combo, or you're starting to think that maybe my colors are looking too orangey or too red or too green, whatever it is. I didn't do green in this actually, but all you have to do is wait for them to dry, or use your heat gun and let them dry that way. And then just go in and add more colors on top of it, because the acrylic paints are going to build layers on top of dry pieces there. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of a mix. Now, I love the reds and the oranges. Those are probably my favorite colors for fall, especially with the browns. I like that there is lots of color here. I do wish I would have picked up a green. I don't know why all of a sudden I'm noticing that I didn't have green. I have green acrylic paint in my paint stash. But anyway, I'm going to let go of the green. The green's not happening for this project, Jamie. So again, just building your leaves, and as you're kind of building layers and textures and blending and everything, they just start to come alive. And I really love how these look. So after these are all dry and ready to go, then you're going to start building on top of your grapevine wreath. Now, one thing I really do like about these grapevine wreaths is that you can put your glue directly on there if you need to. You can also stuff florals in between them. These are by far my favorite wreath forms to decorate with. And I'm just going to take my leaf and I'm literally adding a glob of glue. I did go with one of the larger ones. I was kind of afraid that maybe the larger ones would be too big. And now I'm just going to start building kind of layers and kind of layering the leaves on top of each other. Now, in all fairness, these leaves are actually really, really thick. It's kind of hard to see the thickness of these when I am applying this here. If you were using the smaller kind of laser cut leaves, they'd probably be a little bit better, honestly, for kind of layering and kind of, laying the leaves on top of each other and stuff. This absolutely worked. I'm super happy with the way that this turned out. But if you did want to buy like some of those leaf ornament packages that you can get at Dollar Tree, and you wanted to kind of build a larger version of this on a large grapevine wreath form, I may have to look for a grapevine wreath form next time I am at Goodwill or something, because I feel like this would be fantastic, super large. But anyway, as you are kind of starting to build, you're going to start playing around with it and kind of seeing, where you want to apply your leaves. And eventually it will get to a point where you're like, yeah, I'm happy with that. I love this so much. And it's only going to get cuter. So definitely keep watching. So for this one, I did want to, of course, incorporate the raffia. Now, this bow was way too large, although I honestly at first did not hate it, and I totally almost went with this. But what I decided to do was kind of take my bow and trim it up a little bit just to make those kind of ribbons that are there a little shorter, because I was afraid that y'all would roast me. But I also almost kept it exactly the way it was, because I thought that this would be really beautiful. One thing that I also considered was taking the macrame cord and just kind of loosely wrapping it around kind of the rest of the exposed grapevine. So if any of those are inspirational to you, by far, please, by all means, definitely go out and do this. But I did kind of like the way that this bow sat, and even though it kind of just flew off there, and just going to hold it here in place to kind of let that glue adhere a little bit. But what I did like about this is that you could still see some of the grapevine. You could still see how everything turned out, and I just think this is so cute and so, so beautiful. Now, this next one is definitely a lot of fun, and this is kind of your old school clothespin wreath. We are going to be using this size from Dollar Tree, and I did use 2 packages of those, and then the regular clothespins, this is just 1 package. Now, I was kind of playing around with what I wanted to do, and by the way, 1 package of 22 pieces of these smaller clothespin clips will fill up 1 kind of section of the Dollar Tree wreath. So if you're ever in a bind and you need to know, and these are the smaller wreath forms, obviously, but it's 22 clothespins right here. So I had 2 packages of those smaller kind of clothespins in general. But then I thought about using these larger ones too. Main reason was because I only had 2 packages of the smaller clothespins. So I knew I wouldn't have enough, and then I knew that the larger ones would obviously take up a little more space. So I went ahead and kind of played around with a pattern. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and just kind of take everything out and kind of get these ready to go, and just kind of create my piles here. And as I was kind of playing around, what I'm doing here is kind of creating a pattern. That way I can go back in later on and kind of recreate this pattern. So what I thought I would do is do the 1, 2, or the 1 small, 1 big, 2 small, 1 big, and then kind of keep repeating it, because I did think that this made a really nice pattern as I was kind of going through. Now, this is just kind of my own process, and you certainly don't have to do this. You may have a plethora of clothespins. I do not. I had literally these 2 packages, and then I had the 1 package. So I did want to just make sure that I had a cute pattern and everything. So again, play around with it, enjoy the process. I was sitting there watching TV and listening to music and singing along. And if you heard me singing, you would probably be mortified. But after I kind of figured out what my pattern was going to be, and I made sure that I had enough clothespins, then I went and separated them into piles based on the paints that I was going to be using. And for those piles of paints, I'm using the same exact paints that I used in the previous projects, and I've separated them into colors, and I put a mix of smalls and larges. And now I'm going to take a Ziploc bag, and we are going to put each color in their own Ziploc bag. So we've got the orange. Now I'm going to do the gold. I'm going to do the burgundy, I'm going to do the brown, I'm going to do the yellow. We're just kind of going to repeat that process until we've got all of our individual colors in an individual Ziploc bag. And there's a method to this, and I discovered this one a couple years ago, and I have to say I think that this is a great way to do this, especially if you want something that's kind of a little bit more like on the rustic side maybe. So after you've got all your clothespins in their Ziploc bags, take your paint and drip a couple things of paint in there. Now, if you want a heavier paint color, you should definitely go heavier than I did. Now, when you see me kind of, it's like tossing chicken cutlets, except for they're really hard. But as you can see, it looks like there's a lot of paint in there, but wait until you see kind of what the finished product is after these have dried. It is not nearly as much paint as you think. So if you really do want some paint to show up in here and you want bright, vibrant colors, then add more paint, or you can certainly just hand paint them if you wanted to. I wanted to do something a little quicker. And I also wanted something a little bit more rustic. Now, another thing that you can do also is you can add a couple tablespoons of water into this. That will kind of give your paint more of a stain effect. Although you will see that with these paint colors that I did do in these bags, and once you see kind of the next step here, then you're going to be like, oh, okay. Because they do kind of have that stained look about them. So again, you're just kind of making the chicken cutlets, tossing them around in the marinade and getting them ready. And then what I will do is after I've got all my bags kind of ready to go and, everything is tossed, I will kind of toss it around a couple different times and, make sure that I've got paint kind of sliding all around the Ziploc bag and getting into those pieces and everything because the paint's not going to go on all of them. So after they have sat for only about 10 minutes, then I will take them and, keep tossing them around, definitely. But I will take them and I will go to the kitchen sink and I will rinse them off. And what I will do in the kitchen sink is I do spray a little bit of Dawn down in the bottom of the sink. Then I have my colander there. I have hot water running. That way none of this paint sticks to the inside of my sink. Now, I've been able to successfully do this for several years and, paint at your own risk. If you want to take this outside or you have a craft sink or something like that, then you're just going to take your clothespins off, put them on a paper towel, kind of let them drip dry for a little bit. Now you can kind of see what I'm talking about with that color, right? Because some of them are super vibrant, some of them are a little off. And I'm telling you, even when they dry, they're still going to be very different. You're going to see bits and pieces of bright colors. You're going to see some that look like they have no colors at all. And you're going to see splashes of color, which I think is super, super cool. So I went ahead and used my heat gun kind of for the first layer of this. And this is the same paper towel that I kind of took them off in the kitchen. It was maintaining a lot of water though. So I did go ahead and just kind of swap these over to a drier paper towel. And again, I just kind of doubled up the paper towel so it would be fine. And then here you can kind of see what I'm talking about as they're starting to get a little bit drier. You can see how some of the colors are super developed. You can see how some of the colors are not developed at all. And I'm just kind of piling them up there by the colors. I love the way the reds turned out. And again, we're just kind of going through. And then you may want to kind of blot off kind of any, excess paint that may not have dried. And you can certainly pull out the heat gun again And then when these are ready, you're going to go ahead and start doing the pattern. So as you can remember, I started doing the one small one, the one big one, the two small ones, and then the one big one, and then just repeating. So I did end up kind of separating my colors into piles. That way I could kind of easily see, which one I was grabbing, which one I was going to go with next. And the great thing about these is these are clothespins. They're just going to go right on and off. I think I may have called them paper clips earlier. Let me know in the comments if I did call them paper clips. But because I almost called them paper clips right now. But anyway, as we are kind of going through and rebuilding our pattern, you can see that this just starts to get so cute and so adorable. And I really do love the way that this turns out. And I'm not even done with this yet because we've got to incorporate some hula skirt into here. But then also you're going to go ahead and just kind of shift and squeezy and kind of jiggle these things around. But I do want to kind of make this a little bit of a floral wreath as well. And again, this is one of those smaller wreath forms. You could absolutely do this with a larger Dollar Tree wire wreath form. All you would have to do is just make sure that you had enough clothespins. And I don't know if you can buy clothespins that are larger than the standard size clothespin. You might be able to, but definitely check that out. And you can play around with some smaller ones and the larger ones, even on the larger wreath form. And they're actually really, really fun to make. Super, super easy. I've seen so many fun wreaths that people have done with the clothespins. All right, so now we've got our raffia out here again. Yes, I'm going to go with another raffia bow because I think it's just super easy. I almost did a swag with this one, and I kind of wish that I would have because I think a swag would have been really cute with this one. So go ahead and just kind of pull out your long strands, and then again, you're going to be kind of going through and tying a bow. I took them off of the kind of the tie around of the hula skirt, and that's why there's little knots on the top of there, but I just cut those off when I'm done. So I will go ahead and just kind of pull this really tightly and then kind of make my bow. And there's not much to it. And then with these flowers that I'm going to be using, these are just kind of pieces that I picked off from another kind of bunch that I had. And I'm going to incorporate some of these green pieces, but not a whole lot of them because I think I like the green leaves better. And then you just pull out the glue gun and just start going to town with this one. And this one is actually really easy and also a great surface to work on, especially if you're newer to wreaths or you don't have a lot of floral wire and things like that. You can absolutely glue these suckers right down on top of those clothespins and life is good, I'm telling you. And the great thing about doing any of these, if y'all are brand new to crafting or you're just not sure about it, have fun with it. You have a glue gun. If you have a glue gun and a heat gun, if you mess something up, all you have to do is reactivate that heat, that glue, get that glue nice and wet again, and you can move any of this around. You can even scrape glue off. Like, glue gun is the best thing in the world for doing a wreath form. And again, I've even used my glue gun and glue with a metal wreath form before too. It's just how you kind of work it out, let it dry. But you are essentially in here going and just kind of building your wreath form. And I play around with it. I will lay things out. I will kind of jiggle things around. I will kind of just kind of look at it. Sometimes I even stand up and look at it from, my height. I'm 6'2", so I'm a tall guy. And I will look down kind of on what's going on my work surface table. Sometimes I've even taken a picture of it and like sent it to my sister and been like, what the hell do you think about this thing? Or what's going on with this? And she has definitely given me some feedback and stuff too. And you just have fun with it. And when you are done, you've got an absolutely gorgeous wreath. I love the way that this turned out. This might have to be another one that I make into a larger wreath form for the door because this is just spectacular and I absolutely love the way this one turned out. This DIY is definitely a fun one, and this one can carry you through fall and kind of harvest, but then you could also work this into Halloween. You're going to take one of these Dollar Tree kind of pumpkin laser wood cutouts that I think was $1.75 now, and you are going to just paint it whichever color. I loved this particular orange color, and I did not want this to be super heavy because I did want to lean into the kind of rustic vibe that we're kind of going with a lot of these projects. And as I am kind of painting it and making sure that I've got good coverage, I'm also kind of hitting some of those sides, also some of the insides, like of the mouth and the eyes and everything. I'm also working on my silicone surface here. So the silicone surface wipes completely clean. It's fantastic. I will link this in the description box for you so you have it. But super easy to do, and it all you have to do is just use a cleanser and a paper towel. So I'm gonna also give this a little bit of a some enhancements. We're gonna give them a little Botox, and we're gonna go through and just kind of make sure that our pumpkin has some definition to it. So I'm going to make sure that that stem is a little bit darker, and then we're going to go ahead and add some lines in here, kind of where the curvatures are within the pumpkin themselves. And then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to blend them out, and we're going to make sure that they are nice and blended. Now, if you happen to be a little heavy-handed with them, you could very easily go back over them with some orange paint. You could also take some water and just kind of smudge them a little bit more, and either one of them works perfectly fine. I was fine with this as I kind of played around with it and just kind of kept blending it. And then even at the top there where I had some of the colors that were blended together for the stem, I just went ahead and kind of kept them on that same brush. And then I went on the insides of the eyes and the mouth and the nose. And I have to say, I think this made all the difference in the world, because it definitely started to kind of come alive, right? And really show some definition with the pumpkin. It made it look like it was not just a flat surface that I just painted. And this was super cute. So after I did that, then I took a dry brush and just kind of went through and just kind of made sure everything was nice and blended. And any kind of wet spots, I made sure that those were not going to be wet anymore. And then again, just kind of blending some of those, those curvature lines and things, just to really give it some definition. Now, of course, we got to bring out the hula skirt again, because the hula skirt's kind of key to all of these videos today, all of these projects. I'm curious, have you guys bought hula skirts too? Let me know if you have any hula skirts in your crafting arsenal. If you don't, you should definitely get some. You might be able to still find them at the store. They're so versatile, super fun. A creator many years ago told me about these, and I have loved the idea ever since, and definitely keep them on hand, because they make fall crafting and DIYing so easy. For this one, I am just going to take this, and we're just going to kind of tie it around the stem here. And with the stem, I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of do, I think I did like maybe 3 wraps with it. I was going to originally kind of give this like some hair or something like that, but I just thought that would be kind of silly. And to be honest, also, I didn't have like a hat or anything to cover it up, so I didn't want it to look like it was like a bad hair weave or a bad, implants, or is that hair implants? Is that right? Hair implants. But anyway, I went ahead, just kind of tied around the top here, and then I tied it in a couple knots. I did trim it down, and then added some glue to the front, because I did want to give it, I guess, bangs or a little bit of kind of texture on the front side of this. So I just kind of brought some of the raffia pieces kind of to the front and just kind of laid them off to the side here. I ended up trimming these down, and I wish I would not have. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute here. So now that I've got that kind of handled and taken care of, I am going to incorporate some of this greenery. I've got one of these pieces left over. I was going to take the stem off, but then I thought, no, I'm going to leave the stem, because I think it kind of adds to that kind of rustic look. And I do really like working with these, by the way, because they have those big green leaves on the back. Not only does it give it great color, but it also is nice because it kind of just gives you something very solid to be able to glue down. I know they're floral picks, but you could certainly obviously use them for anything that you want. Then I just added some other accoutrements to it, and I thought that this was super, super cute. We're gonna go ahead and just take a leaf here and put it in the corner, but don't worry, I'm not done with this just yet, because we are going to be adding something else that's going to give this a little bit of punch. Now on the back side of this, flip it over. No, I did not paint the back side of it. If you want to paint the back side of it, by all means, go for it. This is going to be hanging against the door. I don't need to paint it. So I've got my light kind of strings that I glued onto the back. Make sure you glue the correct side down. That way you can get the batteries in and out. I made that mistake and had to improvise. But you're going to go through and you're going to glue the strings down. Now the strings will stay. However, I found that if I take a piece of like scrap cardboard or something like that, it does make this process a little bit easier. Now you can see that those are always kind of, moving around right now, and it's just because the glue is not quite adhering yet. And I went ahead and just kind of took the piece of cardboard scrap here, and I'm going to go ahead and just cut them down into strips, and we're going to overlay them right on top of the lights, kind of like you see right here. And that helps give me a good surface and helps me really keep them in place as I'm kind of going through and working on this. But this light string is also great because it does go all the way around the pumpkin. Now, if you want more lights, I would definitely recommend getting more than one set of string lights or getting a longer set. The ones from the Dollar Tree are somewhat kind of fixed, but as you are done with this, this will light up. Now, I don't know if I got a bad light set or if I've got a set of bad batteries in here. I'm going to have to play around with that because you can see it's not very bright. However, this will be really, really cute when it's on the door, and it also will light up and it'll give it a little bit of fun. So definitely something that I enjoyed making. Now, if you guys have ever seen these window clings and these round mirrors at Dollar Tree, this is such a great thing to grab to make a very cute, very simple fall DIY. And you can actually make a couple different, very simple fall DIYs. This could actually be something I could think that you could do with the kids, for example, because there's not a whole lot involved with this. And this is such a cute way to really be unique and different with these. Now, you could certainly paint your mirror if you want to. I did not want to paint my mirror, so I'm just going to go with it. But as you can see, this cling that I'm having a hard time getting off of here in the center is it's being a little challenging. It's not coming off here. But once it does come off, it's kind of the perfect size for the inside of this mirror, because as you can see, it's not too big, it's not too small, it's just right. And I just go ahead and fold mine in the middle, or do kind of an attempt at a fold, and then just kind of smooth them down. And then if you want to get out your air bubbles, if you have like a Cricut tool, or you have that kind of bootleg Cricut tool that they sell at the Dollar Tree, you could certainly use that. And you could use a credit card, even a gift card, something like that, and just kind of smooth out those air bubbles. And then this is where you can have fun with it. Now, I'm going to add my bow again with my raffia because I think it's such an easy way, and I think it just looks fun. It reminds me of harvest. It's one of my favorite things to decorate with for the fall. But what's so cool about this is that you could really do all kinds of things with it. Think about this. You could take some wooden beads and maybe create a very cool hanger for your mirror. You could create a very cute bow like this. You could paint your frame. You could do all kinds of stuff with it. I kind of like that black and brown and orange and green kind of part of fall decor. So I'm keeping it like this, but even with that bow, if you put it on the mirror, you're going to be able to very easily remove that. And then I just kind of, trimmed up my bow there at the bottom, and this is done. This is so done, so easy, so simple. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. And then for the same thing, you can actually go with one of these candle holders. Now, the roughest thing about this candle holder is going to be, I'm telling you, removing this label. And I said frickin', but this label is challenging. This label is like, it's made of like super glue times 12. Like, you can use a heat gun on this, and I found that this is actually the best way, because using like Goo Gone or anything like that, soaking it in hot water, it does not move. It takes forever. So what I found is to take my heat gun and then take my kind of Cricut tool here. And I did end up switching to a smaller Cricut tool that I have, because it's definitely a little sturdier than that larger one. And I ended up just kind of heating it up a little at a time, and then kind of squishing it aside, and then heating it up a little bit at a time and squishing it aside. And then it finally did come off of there, and it took a little while, and you have to be careful with this too, because you don't want the wax in your candle to melt. But eventually this did come off. And then with this, just like with the mirror, all you're going to do is start taking those clings and putting it all over your candle and kind of creating your own custom candle. Again, something that the kids could very easily do with you. You can have so much fun doing this. You could do all kinds of accessories with this. Obviously, don't light the candle or put them up somewhere where they're nice and safe when you are going to be doing that. I went ahead and wrapped some raffia around the top of mine as well. And I'm going to obviously make sure that when I'm burning this, that raffia is not affected at all. That raffia is just held up there with a quick little glue dot, so you could very easily remove that too before you wanted to, burn this. You could take the raffia and just put it at the bottom. So many fun ways that you can do this, and a super, super easy project. Now for this next project, I'm going to go ahead and use these wood beads that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. Love these fall colors. I also have this kind of wired, it's a wire, but it's got a coating on the top of it. I'm not exactly sure what it is. And then I do have this macrame cord. You saw this earlier. This is when I kind of first bought the macrame cord. And we are going to create a tassel with this. Now, whenever I'm making a tassel, especially if I'm doing something like this with like a thinner wire or even a thinner cord of some kind, I will double it up. And the reason why I double it up is because it actually makes it very easy when you are going to be applying like a tassel or anything like that. And with this particular wire, it kind of became a little bit of a booger bear when I was trying to get it all undone, because of course it got all tangled and jumbled up. But I was able to beat this, and then I ended up going through and making my beads. Again, just kind of picking a color pattern that I wanted and just kind of going through and replicating that until I got it to the strand length that I wanted. Now I'm going to take my macrame cord here, and I'm going to create some tassels. And first thing I'm going to do is hope that this isn't as problematic as the cord was, or as that wire was. That definitely was a tangled mess, and it was very difficult to get this undone. Now, whenever you're making a tassel, one thing that you want to do is you want to have something that's kind of thicker and solid. And I just happen to have this coaster kind of close by. So I'm going to take my macrame cord and I'm going to wrap this around, and I'm going to wrap this around, I don't know how many times I did it, 15 times or so, just to kind of get the right size tassel. And again, this is total up to you. You could make these a lot thicker if you wanted to. And what I will do is then I just kind of slide that off of the end. Sorry, I did that off camera there. And then slide it off the end, and then you're going to start to make your tassel. You can add these to the end of the wire, because remember, we've got two pieces of wire there. And then you're going to just kind of pinch this in the middle and kind of hold that some way. You can add wire to it. You can kind of do what I'm doing here and just feed your wire through. And that's going to help hold your tassel kind of together, or at least kind of get it started there. And then what I will do is I will take that cording or that wiring and just kind of tie it in a knot underneath and kind of pull my beads up to where they're nice and tight, and it starts to create the tassel. And then you're going to pinch in the center, and for pinching in the center, I'm just going to use some wire. And then you're going to take the kind of rings that are left at the end there, and then you're going to cut them to kind of create the tassel pieces. And then I just did that times 2. So then I have 2 tassels and I've got one on each side like this. Now, this is definitely super cute. However, remember we have to incorporate some of our hula skirt raffia into this. And all I'm going to do is just kind of put an accent color in here. I like the way that wire looked in the center of the macrame cord, but I thought that having something a little better with this raffia would kind of make it pop, and love the color combo. Again, it kind of pulls into the creams and everything and those lighter browns. Super, super cute. Great way to add decor to a tray on your coffee table, a tiered tray. So many fun things. You can absolutely create this and make wreaths with it. So many fun things. What do you guys